Hey everyone, so before this video begins, I'd like to just share a little, outreach of love to everybody, and let you just know that this video is very close to my heart. I have recently been suffering with postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression after having my baby girl, and I had a very traumatic birth which was very difficult for me, and I found talking therapy incredibly helpful to start the steps to process it and move on from it. So with that, I have a paid partnership proudly with BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a credentialed therapist who is ready to listen and give you unbiased advice. Starting therapy can be really hard, and finding the right therapist for you is vital. Some people can find it very intimidating to start that therapy face to face. I know that I did. And with BetterHelp, you can have your sessions via video chat, a phone call, or even via messaging if that's what you find the most comfortable. To get started, you fill out a questionnaire which helps to assess your specific needs, and then in most cases it will take 48 hours or less to match you with your specific therapist. And if you feel like the therapist that you've paired with isn't quite the right fit, then you can switch easily with no additional cost. So if you feel like therapy might be a good fit for you, then give BetterHelp a try. Click the link in the description box below to get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp and to support this channel. Thank you so much to BetterHelp, and I hope that you enjoy. Hi. How are you doing? Okay. It's really great that you've come to see me today. I want you to applaud yourself and be proud of yourself for taking this brave step and coming to speak. A lot of the time, simply speaking can do wonders. To have someone there for you who provides a judgment-free zone, free from worry, that can be the most helpful thing of all. So here is a judgment-free zone for you today, an open space for conversation. It's up to you how much information you want to provide, how much detail you want to go into today. There's absolutely no pressure to ever disclose anything if you don't feel that you're comfortable to. But I want you to know that you're safe and you're cared for in this moment, and that nothing bad can happen to you whilst you're sat right here with me. I want to introduce myself. My name is Sophie. It's lovely to meet you. I'm going to be making some notes during our session, but mostly I'm here to listen. I won't necessarily ask you too many questions. This is an open-ended conversation. I might prompt you a little bit to maybe discuss further, maybe ask you why you feel or think a certain way. But otherwise, I'll keep quite quiet. I'm not going to share any opinions or judgments with you. I'm simply here to listen, be that helpful, friendly face that can lend an ear. Okay? Great. So, I've got a little notebook with me here today. This is my notebook. It's complete privacy. Once our sessions finish for the day, these notebooks go into a locked box in my office, which is locked and nobody has entry to. Okay? I won't write any incriminating or personal information other than maybe a few prompts and thoughts and feelings. Okay? Okay. I'm just going to write the date, the time, and your name down on a nice fresh sheet of paper here. It's quite a windy and breezy day today, so I hope that you find the wind and the rain relaxing. So, today is the 26th of January 2024, and the time is 10 p.m. Thank you so much for booking a late session. I frequently have daytime sessions, but my nights tend to be quite free and open, so if there's sessions that work for you, feel free to continue to book them. Okay, wonderful. Just writing your name down. Okay, so have you ever had a therapy session before? Have you ever attended any sort of help meetings? Mm-hmm. Okay. It is enjoyable. I feel the same way. I tend to enjoy the cooler breeze weather. I feel like it's refreshing. Okay. So, if you could pinpoint for me 3 specific things that worry you most. Second one. And how about the third? And out of those 3, is there anything that you'd specifically like to talk to today? Okay. Okay. We'll discuss that. But before we do, I'd like to do some breathing exercises with you, if that's alright. Okay? I know that sometimes it can feel unnecessary, silly almost, but sometimes calming the body down calming the breathing down can help us to calm the mind down, help us see with a little bit more clarity. Alright, so I'm going to ask you to hold my hands if you're comfortable. Good. Okay. And just close your eyes. And I want you to now follow my breathing. I'll direct you as instructed, okay? So, we are going to breathe in for 4, pause for 2, breathe out for 4, and pause for 2. Okay? So, in 1, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, and out, 1, 2, 3, 4, and pause, 1, 2. Okay? I'm going to do that with you now, so I won't be counting, alright? Going. Good job. Okay. You can open your eyes now. Try not to be so hyper-focused on the numbers as you're counting, but try to keep that steady breath as we go through the session, okay? Like I said, a reminder to you, you're safe, okay? You're safe. Anytime you feel like you need a hand to hold, you can just reach out and ask, okay? Alright. Let me get my notes back up. So, remind me what it was that you wanted to speak about. Okay. So what do you think that triggered this in particular? What brought it up this week? Why is it sort of prominent in your mind? Has this been something that you struggled with for a really long time? And how does this problem make you feel? Yeah. Do you commonly get the feeling that you've been betrayed? So you feel disappointed in the people around you that are supposed to support you in that? Tell me a bit more about that. And it frustrates you a lot. The feeling of being ignored. Is there anyone in particular that you feel has let you down in that way? Tell me a bit more about that. Yeah. If that person could change, and if in an ideal world you could click your fingers and they could, be what you wanted them to be, what you needed them to be, what would that look like? And have you spoken to them about this? Why do you feel like that? Yeah, that's very common. So how often would you feel that you experience this? How often do you feel this way? And is it something that is triggered? Can you think of maybe what might trigger it? Think of the last 5 times it's happened. What have been those triggers? Yeah. Okay. I see. So it really can be anything. Okay. What have you tried so far to help with this? I know you're attending therapy now, but what, if anything, have you tried before? How did they fare? Did you find them helpful at all? And how does this problem make you feel about yourself? How does it affect your self-esteem? Okay. Tell me a bit about how your self-esteem is affected. Just tell me a bit about, times where it's maybe stopped you from doing things, or you've maybe said some hurtful words to yourself. So let's now talk about your day-to-day life. Could you describe your typical daily mood for me? Elaborate. Yeah. And what does your day framework sort of look like? What times are you waking up in the morning? taking care of yourself? Do you go out at all? Okay. Yeah. So is it every day? Every day is different. Okay. What would you say would be a good day for you? What would a good day look like? What would sort of get you up and energized, make you feel good? And what's the common thing that ruins a day like that? Okay. How do you try to get yourself out of that bad mood? Do you find yourself coping with any sort of strategies, whether they're, healthy coping mechanisms or unhealthy? A lot of people do, whether it's food, alcohol, substance use. Shopping is actually a really common coping strategy. You'll find it usually in women in their 20s and 30s. They tend to internet browse, shop, window shopping online quite frequently as a coping strategy. Okay. I want you to think now a little bit about the important relationships in your life, whether they be friendships, family ties, relationships. Tell me a bit about them. What was it like growing up with your family? How did you find it? Families are commonly like jigsaw puzzles. Usually we are individual pieces that fit nicely together, but sometimes people can feel like they're a piece that's, an odd piece that doesn't quite fit in that puzzle. Is that something that you could identify with? Do you feel like there is anything that somebody does that you dislike that makes you feel sort of separate? Okay. Are there any wrongs that have happened that maybe you still haven't forgiven? Maybe there's a forgiveness that maybe is holding you back a little bit. It can be very difficult to forgive, and you know, it's very easy from a virtuous place to say that, you know, forgiveness is really important and you should give forgiveness. Sometimes it can be too difficult, simply just too difficult to give forgiveness to certain people or certain situations. It can hold you back. I'm not going to say it's not limiting, because not being able to forgive something means that your mind is always in a sense of fear and blockage with that situation. But I think that the most important aspect is acknowledgement instead. So, you know, you might not necessarily forgive somebody or something that's happened, but instead you can find it quite healing to question yourself on it. So sometimes we don't want to go back to a traumatic event because we find it too difficult. It brings up a lot of those emotions. But this sometimes can actually lead to misinformation. So sometimes we can get a little bit wrapped up in our own perceptions, our own emotions of how we felt in a situation, that sometimes we can remember things incorrectly, or maybe not have all the facts, and this can lead to somewhat irrational fears of, you know, situations and things. So sometimes it is important, no matter how hard it is, to revisit, maybe have a bit of a debrief about whatever it is that may be troubling, and maybe even if you don't agree with the report that you find, but getting an outsider's perspective as to, you know, what has happened can sometimes be easier to cope with, because it's not wrapped up in your feelings. That doesn't mean it invalidates how you feel about a situation, absolutely not. But sometimes if you can hear things in quite a rigid, matter-of-fact way, that can help your brain to sort of put it into a linear timeline a bit better and take emotion out of that equation and help your rational thought part of your brain to think, okay, I feel this way, but this is what I know actually was the case, or what happened, or you know, and therefore you can sort of separate yourself a bit and come to terms with it. Does that make sense at all? Sometimes we just don't get over some things. We carry burdens and traumas with us, and a lot of people would quite happily say that they are peaceful and they don't carry you know, any baggage. They let things go, but sometimes it's easier said than done. And rather than trying and failing at letting something go, instead it's important to, you know, at least be able to acknowledge what happened with some rationality instead. Of course, no one ever pressures you to revisit an event if you don't want to. It's completely up to you whether you want to talk about something specific. Okay. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about some... Okay, now let's talk about a little bit more of a positive aspect of your life. How content would you say you were but what are the things that make you feel content? What things bring you that joy that you need? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you regularly set yourself out some time to practice those rituals that make you feel positive? Do you have any goals or aspirations? Ah, that's great. What do you think is keeping you from reaching those goals right now? Mm-hmm. What do you feel like you can do to move away that wall that's stopping you? What's one thing that you want to achieve this week that will get you a step closer to that positive goal? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good for you. Good for you. Okay, well, I think we're going to leave our session there for today. Alright, but have a little think about what you're going to do this week that helps you to feel content. And have a think also if you want to revisit anything. Alright, it's been a pleasure. You have my contact if you need me. Okay. I'm sending you out with love and light, okay? Alright, remember to breathe.